All right, folks, it's that time of the month again. We're going to do the monthly live stream here, first Wednesday of the month. And a shout out to Buy Me a Coffee member, Dennis, everybody's friend. So this month, the topic is going to be on Meshtastic again. And this time is more along the lines of what is a good node for somebody who's just starting out, and I kind of hinted for a normal person. And Jason picked up on that. Define normal. Well, you kind of danced around it. A normal person would be someone that not like us, ham radio operators, uh, makers, tinkerers, hackers, that sort of thing. Meshtastic right now, and if you're wondering what Meshtastic is, it's off-grid communications way of things, using a mesh network from little devices like this LilyGo T-Echo here. You sync these with a phone. You can send a text message to someone else with one of those devices through those devices. No infrastructure, no license required, which would be appealing for people who are not ham radio operators. You can use encryption, lots of cool things. But right now, it's geared towards hackers and makers and tinkerers and hams because there's a little putzing around you gotta do with them to get them going. As far as a normal person, I'm thinking just a normal person who, when you're thinking buying a communications device, you're thinking Apple iPhone or a Samsung Galaxy, whereas you take it out of the box, turn it on, and away you go. Maybe have the guy at the store help you set it up. Where with Meshtastic, there's firmware to flash and some of the devices, like this little guy, either you have to buy a 3D printed case or you have to make your own case. Not really appealing for a lot of people who I said, normal people who just want something that works. So that's kind of the problem with Meshtastic, in my opinion, right now. Trying to get people I know into it. Uh, I can't get them into ham radio because they don't want to take a license. This seems appealing to them, but then it's to the point where, flashing firmware is not up everybody's speed. But there are some decent options out there. Again, I don't think it's quite ready for prime time, but I'm able to get some people interested into this with the devices I'm going to show you right here. Here's an assortment of different nodes that I have and some of the things I like about them. And I'll go through them here one at a time in no particular order. This one right here that I already showed is the LilyGo T-Echo. It's fairly popular. This is a good one for people, again, who don't have access to a 3D printer or want to do any soldering or that kind of thing. It comes in a plastic injection molded case, which is pretty nice. So it comes with Meshtastic already flashed on it, so there's really no setup. It has a nice USB connection. They have models that have thermometer and pressure sensor on it, so you can get some telemetry data. One thing that some people don't like, but I do like, is this e-paper screen. Very easy to see in the sunlight. Uses very little battery life to run, so it's pretty efficient. Works pretty good. Downsides is that some of the buttons protrude out past it a little bit, so you can get these 3D printed cases that go over that. Other nice feature, the antenna screws off external, so you can put a larger antenna on it. This is one that I recommend to people who are not tech savvy, but they want to get into Meshtastic. Very user-friendly setup, and it looks like something that will work for them. Out of box, you don't have to do anything too fancy with it. It's pretty affordable. The biggest downside, again, is that the buttons protrude out, and it doesn't have a hard off button. It goes into a sleep mode, so if you're not going to use it for a while, the battery will go dead on you over time. So that's a minor drawback, but hey, you're supposed to keep these things on all the time, so that's not too bad. The other one that I think is right off the bat, and this is the one that's probably the most user-friendly and plug and play, and this is from Seed Studio. It's the Sense Cap, and this is a tracker style one, but overall it works pretty good. The nice thing about this one is its compact size. It's about the size of a credit card, thickness of about a quarter of an inch thick. So this one in particular, I keep this in my wallet. This is my everyday carry one. Now notice there's no display at all, so all your settings are through the app that you have on your phone, which isn't that big of a deal. Just one button right here to control it. Pretty straightforward. One of the real nice things about it is it has a IP65 rating, maybe a 67. Basically dustproof, waterproof to a degree. So this thing, you can get wet, you can submerge it for a little bit. Pretty rugged. Battery life on it is pretty good. You can get a solid day out of it. And that kind of leads into the two downsides of it. The first downside is with it being completely sealed like this, you have a proprietary charge cable to it, or charge cable to it. So it's kind of a pain in that sense that you don't have like just a standard USB cable. You gotta get this proprietary cable, but that proprietary cable is pretty cheap. So when you buy this, you pick up another one. The other downside is with it all being self-contained like this, that it has an internal antenna that you can't swatch out for anything else. But that little antenna does a pretty good job. It gets out, and this is for more of your in close communications with people when you're talking to your family, your buddies, your neighbors who are maybe a couple hundred yards away, not a couple hundred miles. So overall, I like this one a lot, and this is one that I would definitely recommend to people who are not tech savvy because, again, there's nothing to set up on it. There's no case that you have to 3D print for. You just turn it on, sync it to your phone, download the app, and away you go. Something that most people can handle this fine. And we got a real YouTuber in the audience. Hey, Joe Brett, thanks for hanging out with us. Along the same lines as this little Sense Cap from Seed Studio, there's a plethora of this size tracker devices too. This one again is a small compact. This one I carry a lot on my backpack. Internal battery, internal antenna, but you still get some decent range. Experimenting I did with this one, I can get about a mile range with it, so pretty good. And you can see this one has the LED OLED display on it, so you get some of the data right from it. Just two buttons to control. This one I picked up from Spec5. They have a website and an Etsy store where you can buy this whole thing. They have 3D printed cases for other devices, and they have their own devices that you can buy. So that's pretty cool. Downsides of this one is pretty much the same as the other one. Internal battery, internal antenna that you can't really change too much about. but overall it works well. USB charge, so that's kind of universal. Not weatherproof, but it's pretty good. The next one on the list is probably my personal favorite. This is one I carry quite a bit. Again, this one is an all-in-one piece. You can get the whole thing together with this 3D printed case. Now, a lot of people who are not technical are a little leery of 3D printed cases because they feel and look kind of cheap. But overall, the build quality of this thing is pretty darn good. It's got an OLED display, and what I like about this one is it has a on and off switch, so you can completely shut it down. Here I see I just turned it on, and you get the Mestastic data on there. Again, sync up your phone to get most of your messages and whatnot. USB charging again, and nice. This one here, unlike the T Echo, the control buttons that protrude out. This one just has the one button and is protected. See if I get in focus there a little bit. Yeah, you can see that that gets protected from any false bumps. And while this won't apply to the non-techie type, the techie type, this thing you can take apart and you can switch out the battery. You can add modules to the control board for more sensors and stuff like that, which I will do a separate video on. I have another one of these I got to build out, so be able to do that. External battery, or excuse me, external antenna that you can switch out to a higher gain antenna or onto a cable to get your antenna up higher, all that kind of stuff. One downside of this guy I have is that these nuts will come loose. I had a couple of these fall out before. A quick fix for that is just put a little drop of blue Loctite on it or a little bit of hot glue. That'll hold it in place. So this is the Wiz Mesh Pocket. They're available from Rack Wireless, I forgot to mention. And they have a couple different options for colors. You don't have to get this white and blue. They have a black and believe a desert tan type tactical color. So you have a few options. That's right, Joe Brett. You never want to lose your nuts. It just makes things rough. And then the last one I have displayed here. This is one that is coming a long ways, and it's not quite there for the normal people. But this is one I got my eye on. Obviously, I got more than my eye on. I got my hands on one. This is also from LilyGo. This is the T-Deck. They have a T-Deck where you can get just the board and a display and this keyboard. As you can see, it's kind of like a throwback to the old BlackBerry phone. But it doesn't come with a case, and you'd have to get a 3D printed one or 3D print one yourself or do something. So I wasn't very interested in this one. But now, as you can see, they have the T-Deck Plus now. And this comes with a nice plastic injection molded case. It's not weather tight, but it's good enough for everyday use. It's lightweight. It feels good in the hand. And what other things does it have that I like? Oh, yes. The control button is a little bit protected with this bump here. Not perfect, but pretty close. It's got the USB connector on it. It has the positive on and off switch. And unlike the other ones I showed you so far, you don't have to pair this one with a phone. This one will do everything on the device. You can read, type, and send messages on this thing without any problems. And is the battery dead? What the heck? Oh, I left it on. That hard stop doesn't do you any good if you don't turn it off. But at any rate, why I say this thing's not ready for prime time, and I won't suggest this to my non-techie friends, is the firmware is not ready for anyone yet. In fact, all the other devices, you can download the beta firmware from Meshtastic. They're good firmware for this. They don't have it available without jumping through a few hoops to get to it. You got to do the old Nintendo Nakami code on their website to get access to the nicer firmware that has a nice graphics display and everything, which I'd really like to show you right now, but I have a dead battery. But wait, let me find a cable. As you can tell, I came really prepared for this live stream. In fact, I almost forgot about it. Let's plug this in. There we go. We can get the thing. So forgive me, my camera is not that great. Well, the camera's great, but my lighting's poor. They have a decent menu that they got laid out here. You can see you can have the touch screen to get to things. The touch screen is a little flaky right now, and it's a little difficult to get going, but the trackball also works to get through. The problem is this thing will bug out on you every once in a while, and I find that I hit the reset button more than I do everything else. This thing has a ton of potential, and I think it's almost there, but until the Meshtastic folks gets the firmware all updated and available to download off their site without jumping through some hoops, I'm not willing to recommend this thing to a lot of people. For your hams, you're probably shaking your head at me going, what do you mean? This thing works great. Well, we're hams. We're used to figuring stuff out. Like I said, for a person who's used to just an Android phone or an Apple phone and everything just kind of works and flows well, this is not quite there yet. But this has a ton of potential. All right, so that's basically where am I? Let me flip the cameras here. So that's basically what the whole stream is going to be this week, is to give over some pointers on what to look for in a Meshtastic device, especially for people who are not that tech savvy. There's a few options. Again, the ones I showed you here, the LilyGo T-Echo will be a good one for somebody that's not too tech savvy. My personal favorite, the Wiz Block Mesh Pocket, which is a very rugged, good one to go. That's pretty much out of the box. Has the on and off switch, USB charging, pretty rugged. And if you want something that's really rugged, you have this little Sense Cap from Seed Studio. Pretty much waterproof, small enough to fit in your wallet, which is, like I said, the way I carry it daily. Simple to use, but has an internal antenna and a proprietary charger. But other than that, this is a really great option and cheap too. It's like around $40. So that's the options that I had to show. My co-host tonight is apparently not able to make it. And he was going to bring a couple different options, and then we're going to have a longer discussion. But hey, things happen, so we're just kind of winging it. So short one tonight. I really don't know what else to say. Hey Chris, thanks for hopping in and talking. I see you've been chatting with Joe Brett, who's always great to have around. Jason went to grab a bite to eat. He's thinking about mashed potatoes. Hopefully you have something good. Yeah, that's about it. I really don't have much else to say. The co-hosts apparently aren't around. All right, hey, Jason's still here. You gotta use a pun when you can. I just recently entered a online pun contest. I sent in. They said you could send as many entries as you wanted, so I sent in my 10 best ones, but I didn't win. Not one pun intended. So, with that, I have nothing else. So this is kind of a short one. So have you played with any variants of the Meshtastic phone app? Uh, Not really. I just used the one that we get off app. Uh, Not really. I just used the one that we get. I muted you until you figure yourself out there, Greg. You got it better?
I think I'm good.
Yeah, I think you're good too. You're just in time. I was just about ready to start shutting things down.
Oh, I thought I was half an hour early. I forgot about the Central Time stuff.
Yeah, those time zones. We should figure it out. Oh, that's probably where everybody is.
No, I just couldn't get on at the time. I had you in the background on the stream.
No problem. So,
Yeah, don't have anything to add. I'm not a Mestastic guy, but maybe someday.
yeah, someday. I almost had you trying one out at the Huntsville Ham Fest, but we stopped to eat and
Yeah,
we're
that
trying to get it loaded and we couldn't get
yeah that pizza shot through us, and there was no explaining things after that.
yeah. Yeah, there's like Wi-Fi problems, we couldn't get it going, and then we moved on to other things. So I am gonna send you a Meshtastic node though, Greg.
Okay, I could afford one, but if you want to send one out my way just to test out and
Yeah, I have
see
a few
see if
extras.
it's something I'm gonna get. Yeah, definitely you have a few. I just saw the ones you held up. You got more than a few.
Yeah, well, I'm a gear junkie, and when I get into a hobby, I go all over. And like with Meshtastic, my excuse was I have some friends who are interested in it around here, and they asked me what's a good one, and I didn't know, so I bought a bunch of them to figure it out. Why I didn't tell each of them to buy their own and figure it out on themselves, I don't know. But it's an excuse to buy a toy for the most part.
Yeah, that's all you need. Just an excuse.
Yeah. Yeah, your brother was supposed to hop on. We talked him into giving us a go, and he bought a couple different ones than I had.
Yeah,
And
and he's been doing a lot of work with those. He's been talking about them with us for a while, and he messaged me earlier and saying he was still working, wouldn't be able to get on, and I had some stuff going on. Didn't get home till late,
sure.
with the family and stuff. So it's been a long week already.
Oh, I hear you, man. I hear
But
you.
even though it's only Wednesday, but life goes on, and there's always ham radio.
Yep. Yeah, things have been crazy. The last, we said let's do this live stream thing once a month, just on a topic that we can bullshit about like this, and try to be more geared towards the people who aren't hams, and try to like the prepper type crowd or just the ham curious and try to bring them in. And I was thinking, yeah, we do it once a month. That'll give me plenty of time to put a little outline together and maybe get some PowerPoint things. And for stuff that I have, I'll have links to websites and Amazon for people can check stuff out on their own. And but we've done this like 3 times now, and all 3 times is crap. That live stream's tonight. What the heck were we going to talk about?
Yeah.
So what else?
Yeah, definitely need to try out the Meshtastic so we could get into it. I know at my local club, that's kind of been a hot topic lately. So
Yeah,
there's a couple guys that are real interested into it, and then even a lot of people around my age still haven't heard of it. So
right.
I think once we get introduced to it, it's going to be just like anything else. We're just going to go all out and have it, and just another piece of kit in your vehicle or on your on your holster, on your belt. And
yeah, because I think when we're talking about GMRS radio, you said that your club was interested in that, and you're talking about getting a GMRS repeater up on your tower. And then you also mentioned that you guys were talking about Meshtastic, and I thought, oh man, if you had a node up on your radio tower to act as a repeater, that'd be really sweet.
Yeah,
does anybody in your club?
Those are the two big things that came in to one of the last meetings up for consideration.
Mm-hmm.
So it could happen.
So does anyone in your club currently have Meshtastic, or are they just looking into it?
There were a couple guys, but see, it's so weird. I've been in my club for 5 years now, and when they came out to talk about it, this was the first time I seen them, or maybe the second time, but I'm like, I don't know who. Sorry, you got a phone ringing, but I haven't seen them. So our club is, fairly big, but when we have a meeting, it's usually about 12 people. So
sure.
And I can't say anything about it. I've missed the last 2 meetings, so or the last, about the last 2, just the way it fell and everything going on. But those
I brought it up one of the last times I went to one of the local clubs. I brought it up, and it's to no surprise, all I got were some eye rolls, and that's not real ham radio, and we don't want to do it. So, you know how that goes.
Like, the people in my club, even the older guys, were interested because with the older folks in our club, once FT8 came out, that's like pretty much all they do now. They were kind of the guys that had awards for doing CW contests, you know what I mean? And, single sideband, but like they're just FT8 guys now because,
right.
Hey, we can relax and do everything. And sorry about that. I get phone calls, but
that's all right. You could put your phone on silent like most people do, but whatever. You can just turn it off each time you hear it ring.
Yeah.
Just kidding on you. Yeah, that's cool that you got a club where people are interested in exploring new things, because that's what the hobby's all about. I've complained too much to you about some of the clubs around me, so I just gave up and started doing this kind of stuff. And Joe Brett kind of hit right where I was going. That is not ham radio at all, and it's a perfect tool to get someone interested in RF stuff, which is absolutely right. And it's also why I'm a big advocate now of GMRS radio, because you get somebody in with Meshtastic on their phone, all you tell them is we can talk to each other without using the cell phones, without the infrastructure. If the grid goes down, all you got to do is get a little device like this and download an app on your phone, and you're basically texting to each other when you sync them with Bluetooth. And, almost anyone with a cell phone knows how to download an app and sync a Bluetooth item. So with very little, they're up and running on quote unquote off grid comms, something a little different. And as Joe Brett alluded to, it's RF. And now you get people talking on these things, sending text messages, and then they're sending their telemetry data. And then all of a sudden they get a little interest on how RF works and how your range can be changed by swapping out an antenna. And now you can find peaks and valleys and everything. And that might just get them a little more interested in this off-grid, self-sustained communications, beyond a cell phone. And then that's where you get the, hey, this thing's pretty cool. And you go, yeah, and here, check out what you can do with GMRS radio. We can do voice, and we can use this repeater, and we can extend our range. And you're like, hey, this is way cool. Then, hey, if you're willing to take a test, now you got ham radio, and you can do FT8, WinLink, JS8 call, talk to satellites, talk to repeaters. Then you get into the whole HF realm of thing. You can really be a good opener up for the gateway into the hobby.
You're just letting everybody watch your show. We got Joe Brett in here cracking eyes.
Yeah, it's nice to have Mr. Joe Brett on us.
So, I know you're in, you've been researching Mestastic a lot. We know we do, plenty of sideband talk on the radio. And what about digital modes? I know you said you're not a big FT8 guy, but have you looked into anything else that you might see that you're interested in, maybe for emergency comms or anything like that?
Yeah, about 2 years ago, I was messing around with WinLink not quite a bit, but a little bit. But sadly, I haven't set aside time to mess with that for probably long enough so that my WinLink account, I'm willing to bet, isn't even active anymore. So I probably have to start all over with that. But yeah, I FT8, I just never had any interest in. I downloaded the software, installed the software, and I got things set up. I think I was messing around on a Parks on the Air one time trying to do that with FT8, and I just found it boring and not for me.
Yeah.
But
I guess it depends where you're at. I remember, me and Indiana Evan, W9ZAW, hanging out, and I think it was that first year. A lot of us went to Huntsville, and I don't know. I know Joe Brett remembers, just being at the cabin with like terrible RF, to do sideband and, something to do while we're hanging out on a rainy day. FT8 still worked,
Yep. Yeah. And that's
Yukon decks.
Yeah. And I have absolutely nothing. I'm not one of those, oh, that's not real ham radio. I think it's awesome. I see where it's really appealing for people with a high noise floor. It's awesome for when band conditions aren't that greatest or we're in a low spot of the solar cycle. But I just messed around with it, and it just didn't click for me as fun. But you know what? If I sat down and messed around with it again, I might find more interest in it. But no, I haven't even done a Parks on the Air activation since like last October, so I just don't have time these days.
Yep. Well, like I'm ready. I'm ready to do some more stuff. Ready to get out camping.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of in a bad spot with some new projects with work and stuff like that, where it's kind of keeping me locked in for about another month. But after that, I'm ready to take a vacation and get out there.
Yeah.
Don't have any plans yet. Maybe I'll get with you and head up north. Maybe.
Yeah, and I can meet you somewhere in between. I'm in the same way at work right now. It's just insanely crazy. And it's going to be that way for another month or two at least. But yeah, definitely this summer I'm going to be taking the camper out, and I'll be doing a little more backpacking and a lot more of that stuff. I gotta get back to yeah. Speaking of backpacking and stuff, I started to, I'd always carry a ham radio with, um, and I'd hear the same repeater and the same person having the same conversation. I started carrying the Meshtasic nodes with me just to see if I can pick up anything on the different trails I have between my house and the Twin Cities, and it's kind of I think that would be a good way for me to see what else is out there with Meshtastic as far as people experimenting with it, because I got over an hour commute when I go into the office, and there's several towns with hiking trails in between with some high spots. So I started carrying one with me when I go on some of my favorite trails to hike, just to see if there's some random people out there who I haven't contacted yet. So that's kind of a new
Yeah,
endeavor for me this summer, is to put more focus on getting some people in my area up on Meshtastic, because I can, with the note on my roof of my house, I do get uh, messages and signals from people in the Twin Cities, which are, 75 miles away. So that's pretty cool.
yeah, for sure.
So what else, Greg?
Not a whole lot else. Still EDCing this knife we talked about, and it's crazy. Yeah, got it right here. The craziest thing is, I feel like since I'm trying to test this out,
Yep.
I'm like, for some reason I'm not using my knife as much as I normally would. I'm sure it's the same, but I feel like since I'm trying to test it, like I'm not getting a lot of use out of it just every day,
Mm-hmm.
everyday test. So, but it's working good so far, holding the edge.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm pretty impressed with this thing so far. I like it. That was a
So,
good idea on your part.
so like I said, EDC, my work, I'm using a box cutter all the time.
Yeah.
So when I come home, for the time I come and do stuff around the house, it's what am I really cutting during that time? My day off. It's usually packages or wire ties strapped to a kid's toy or something. So
Yep.
it's doing fine for that so far. But we'll save that for another video.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
um,
And
also
then,
get with me for your next one, and we'll figure out what to get and what we might want to do for that video.
yeah, for sure. We'll have to plan something out. But yeah, that was the other thing I was going to talk as far as EDC. This little Meshtastic node, this one's small enough it fits in my wallet, and I carry it every day at work now. It scared the crap out of me about 2 weeks ago, where I'm at my desk. I can't remember if I was talking to somebody in a meeting or if they're walking by, but all of a sudden it went off. It's like I got a message, and I'm like, "What the hell is that?" But yeah, it was a random person in the town I work in that just said, "Hey, is anybody out here on Meshtastic?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I am." And the response was, "Holy cow! I didn't think I'd get anybody. I never hear anybody."
Yeah.
But that's the thing with Meshtastic, and it goes right back into GMRS radio or ham radio. Uh, so many people want to get into the hobby, and they'll if they don't have a club or anything around, they'll just kind of do their own research on YouTube or whatever, and they'll find out, oh, hey, there's a repeater 10 miles from my house. Cool. And they'll go and they'll buy a radio and program it to listen to the repeater, and they'll have it on, I bet you, for a few days, and they don't hear anything, and they're like, well, nobody around here is on it, so why should I bother getting my license? And they turn off their old mouth thing and throw it in the closet, when there's probably half dozen other people who have their radios onto that repeater that aren't talking at all, just except for when maybe they talk on their Wednesday night net at 7 o'clock, where they just give their call sign and say no traffic.
Yeah.
If you're actually using the stuff, whether it's Meshtastic or GMRS or ham or anything else, you gotta be out there throwing your call out, or in this case, just saying, "Hey, I'm out here. Anyone else?" Just gotta let people know you're there.
Yeah, it's I'm kind of part of that problem. When I first got on, so we got licensed. If you look at our call signs, we're right there together. Um, it was every day. Like once I got into it and got a mobile installed and got the ham shack installed, I was on it I was on it every day, just throwing it out there. That's where I met buddy Evan. That's where we talked forever, and then ended up talking on Skype or whatever. It's so much easier. You can say more stuff, right?
Right.
More politically incorrect stuff. But we were on there all the time, and then in the last couple of years, it's kind of been short traffic. We actually had some tornado, warnings about a week and a half ago. And it's funny because that's the first thing I do is turn on my radio, right?
Yep.
Get onto the local repeater, and it's just blown up, right? And it's all people, call signs I've never heard before,
Mm-hmm.
And even like in our area, so we're Kilo Delta 9, they're on Kilo Echo 9s now. We give out call signs, and I've never spoke to one, but I hear them coming on during, bad weather and stuff, and the repeater's hopping. So, it's definitely a great place for that, to see what's going on. But there's plenty of people around apparently that could hit the repeater and be on there daily. And, I just need to do it more because it's fun.
Yeah, I do. I rarely there's one repeater system. It's a pretty cool thing. They got the main repeater up at one of the higher points in the Twin Cities. And what makes it unique is they have a bunch of receive sites out around too with a voter system. So you get real good coverage with it. But and I can hit 2 different receive sites from the repeater on my way. So I get that repeater for pert near the whole hour plus drive to work. But there's hardly anybody on it, and if it is, it's like the same people, and the conversation's always the same. They just talk about the radio, and
Yeah, it's usually a couple people that meet up at the same time. Just see what's going on, just to check in to
yeah,
each other. So like, they kind of own that repeater. They don't own it, but nobody else is trying to get over it. But,
yep, yeah. It seems, at least in my area, it's except for the nets, the only time there's traffic is the same people saying the same stories over and over again. It's just like, whatever.
yeah, so talking about just being on the repeater is funny. It's probably been 4 years ago or so, but one of my best friends, we were doing something, driving around in my truck and in my town, and he asked what the radio is for. I'm like, that's VHF, UHF, mobile radio, and I just go out, throw my call sign, which is weird to somebody that doesn't know ham radio, right? So if you say Kilo Delta 9 Mike Uniform Golf monitoring, and then somebody pops up, and it was a buddy of mine, Kilo Bravo 9 SNL, right? Sierra November Lima. And I'm like, hey, Tim. And to them, that's, it's confusing to somebody that doesn't know the ham radio lingo, right? To see
Yeah,
on, and they just think it's just like, how do you know who that was? I'm like, because he said, KB9 SNL. And, you talk to him enough, you just know who it is right away. And I don't know, but to them, that was crazy, but interesting to them, right?
right.
And at that point, it was just kind of, to me, it was nothing, but, it definitely sparked their interest in it.
That's cool.
Yeah, a little bit off subject, but
No, that's the way it always goes. That was kind of the plan with this thing, is to hit the thing right up front with a little presentation or the topic, and then just let it go wherever it goes.
Yeah.
It's all semi-related.
Good deal. But that's pretty much all I got to say. I just wanted to jump in here because I just had the opportunity, and it's been a long 2 days for sure.
Oh,
Hanging out with my dad. He's got some issues and stuff, but
oh,
I take care of him. Don't need to go into that. He's doing
yep,
fine.
good.
And but got back in the shack for the first time and wanted to come out and have a couple whiskeys and a couple beers before it was bedtime.
Oh yeah, that's a good plan. Yeah, I was literally just about to wrap things up because it's like, well, I was expecting your brother to be on, and we would be still talking about his stuff for another 45 minutes at least beyond where we're at now, before we get off topic. But it
Yeah,
is what it is. We can always try it
maybe
again.
maybe another Meshtastic video. I know he's got some commentary for it.
Yep.
He kind of went all out on it, and
Oh yeah. No, that's the plan. We'll just keep on winging it and do these topics like this that are ham radio and ham radio adjacent, and see where it goes.
yeah, and maybe don't worry about shipping one down to me. Maybe give me one. Show me a good one that you think I would be interested in. By the
Sure.
time, it's not expensive, so by the time you do shipping and stuff, I could probably have one. And
All right. Well, just watch the first 10, 15
yeah,
minutes of this video and you'll get my recommendation.
when you pull out 20 of them,
Yeah. Oh, if I was to recommend one, it would be this guy right here, the WizBlock Mesh Pocket, I believe it's called. I'll send you a link.
the blue and white one.
Yeah. They also come in black.
Yeah, that's what I turned it on, had you in the background for a little bit.
Yeah.
And I heard you talk about that, and I'm like, why'd you go with the blue and white when you could have got black?
Because when I bought that, they only had the blue and white.
Oh, okay. I was just like, that just kind of makes.
But I got the black one right here.
Oh, he's just breaking them out, guys.
No, I got that. I'm actually gonna do. I gotta find some time to do that. Now that I got the overhead camera set up, I'm gonna do like a live stream where I set that thing up, take it apart, add some modules to it. It won't be this Wednesday once a month thing. It'll just be like on a rainy Saturday or Sunday or something.
Yeah, that's
When
awesome.
it will literally be, hey, it's gonna be crappy today. Let's do this, and do it at whatever time.
Those are kind of my favorite videos. Joe Brett used to do those. You might still, I just might not catch them, but it's kind of like, hey, just dicking around in the shack. Let's go live.
That's how I met him. As I think I told him this at Huntsville, but the first time I was just on scrolling through YouTube, and his channel popped up where he was live, and I'm like, huh, what's this guy doing? And I turned it on, and it's just Joe Brett sitting in a shack talking to people, playing radio. And my first thought, well, this is pretty stupid. Who's going to sit on YouTube, or what kind of a ham who has a radio in the next room going to sit on YouTube and watch another ham play radio when he can just play radio himself? That's like those stupid kids that watch Twitch where watch somebody else play a video game. It made no sense to me. Well, 45 minutes later, I'm still watching Joe, and I'm interacting with him and everybody else in the chat, and I'm like, this is a lot of fun. Okay, I get it. So, yeah, then I subscribed to him, and I thought, boy, there you go. Yeah, you can't downplay something until you give it a try.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, sorry I moved. My door just barged open. And my cat ran in. My shy cat. That usually means she caught an animal. So let's see.
Oh,
So
what
got
does
there?
Shacking Cat have?
She's got a field mouse. Nothing big. It's not the rabbit that she drug in here and murdered on my carpet, But
Yep, I remember that. That was interesting.
I wasn't home last night, taking care of business or whatever. But so she went a day without having me coming over and feeding her. So,
Oh,
I fed her earlier today, but she's a meal behind, so I guess she went out and found a snack.
there's a trust factor now. She doesn't trust you anymore. So,
Well, normally, like when she's full, she just leaves it here for me, but there's no body left. She just, oh yeah, kitty, you got that kid? Stupid. That's what a barn cat's for,
Yep. That reminds me of a friend of mine. He was dating this girl for not a long time, but for a couple months. And she had a cat. She lives in an apartment in the cities. And she had to go on a business trip for like 4 or 5 days. And she asked him to take care of her cat, just go in there and feed it once a day. No big deal. So he's like, yeah, no problem. It was like day 3. Also, he just goes, oh shit, I'm watching her cat. He forgot all about it. So he goes over there, and cat's freaking out because the cat's been alone for 3 days, and he fed it. The thing, was just fine. And me thinking the way it is like, boy, I bet that cat really hates you from then on. And he's like, no, the cat had no idea I was supposed to watch it. The cat loves me now because I was the one that saved it. He goes, now every time I go there, the cat's like, oh, my new best friend.
Yeah.
Oh, I just laughed at that. Where you gotta know my friend where he just pictured where he says, I was literally just sitting on the couch watching TV, and it's just like, shit, I'm supposed to be watching a cat.
That's what's good about a cat. They can take care of business.
Yep.
All right, I think we're out of topics.
Oh yeah, but we have almost went an hour, which is about 55 minutes longer than I thought we'd last when I started this show by myself without your brother.
Yeah, sorry about that. But
it ain't your fault. Life happens,
right? Life happens.
Well, like I said, when we were kind of kicking around the idea of doing this, is like if you show up, you show up. If you don't, you don't. Well,
yep.
They can last for 2 hours or they can last for 10 minutes. We'll just see what happens.
Yeah.
Keep it simple.
Hey, shit, if Derek comes in right now, you talk about chickens for another hour.
Yeah. Oh, we better get out of here before Derek shows up. All right, so let's do the shutdown thing like you're supposed to do on these. You got anything planned coming up on your channel, Greg? Shacking off?
No, probably not. Yeah. Look for a video April 1st, 2026. We'll probably do something.
Yep.
I used to do the ham radio loop videos, but
yep.
I can't stay up that late and drink that hard anymore. So
getting old, man.
Yeah, apparently. I think those videos made me old. That's kind of fine until I started doing those videos, but
yeah. Well, I think last month I said I have 3 or 4 videos that I'm editing and I'm gonna get them released, and I haven't even touched them yet, so they're still in the works. But I still have footage from our POTA activations when we went to Huntsville last year that I haven't finished. So
send me some photos, like just text them to me or whatever. I'd like to.
Sure.
Yeah,
the one video that I almost had done from Huntsville was when you and I did our little review of Polo and what we liked about it.
Yeah.
But that app has changed so much.
Is it really? That might have been my last Parks on the Air. No, I've done one with Dan, my brother Dan,
Yeah.
since then. But and I remember, I think that was the second take of that video. The first take was really good. Remember that? Do you remember
No.
the first take and something went wrong, and so we had to kind of redo it.
Oh, I can't remember what it was.
Sounds about right, though, right?
Yeah, because we did. Yeah, we did it in your shack there. The second one.
Yeah, that's right. We did, but I think we were talking about it at that park in Tennessee.
Yeah, and like the audio was off or something like that. I think it was. Oh.
That's what.
But I'm just going to delete that one because, like I said, we're talking about all the new features of Polo. It's like I don't even think they have that anymore.
Yeah, well, let's make a new one.
Yeah, we'll have to. All right, so yeah, I'll try to get something out in next week, but there's a good chance I won't be on until the next live stream, which easier.
Yeah. Well, thanks for the guys watching.
Yeah.
Saw Jason, Joe Brett, Chris.
Yeah, there's like 11 watching now, so thanks everybody for watching. Don't know why you are, but we appreciate it. All right, let's stick a fork in it. Thanks, everyone.
73, guys.